Hello class, my name is Brett Bukuritz. I'll be teaching the theory of moral development by Lawrence Kohlberg. First, we have to figure out what are we trying to learn today. Our objective is to answer the question, what is the theory of moral development and how does it relate to education, psychology, and can we provide some real life examples so that we can really sink our talons in and get a hold on this issue. Next, we'll have to define what is the theory of moral development by Kohlberg standards. Well, the theory of moral development by Kohlberg is an adaptation of a psychological theory originally developed by the Swiss psychologist Piaget. Kohlberg just expanded it and developed this theory throughout his life. The theory holds that moral reasoning is the basis for ethical behavior, and it has 6 identifiable developmental stages, each more adequate at responding to moral dilemmas than its predecessor. So it's graduated from most simple to most complex. The 6 stages of moral development are grouped into 3 levels, the first being pre-conventional, the second conventional, and the third post-conventional. Kohlberg's scale is about how people justify behaviors, and his stages are not a method on ranking how someone's behavior is. It's important to understand that. Now we will briefly go over Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Like we said, he has 6 stages. There's pre-conventional, which involves stage 1 and 2, conventional 3 and 4, post-conventional 5 and 6. In the first stage, the most simple, the orientations are obedience and punishment. So they're very basic. It's not very developed. This is very egocentric. So this is when a child with pre-conventional morality has not yet adopted or internalized society's convention regarding what is right or wrong, but instead focuses largely on external consequences that certain actions may bring. For example, the last time that I got spanked, I got spanked, so I will not do it again. So that would be an example of pre-conventional. I'm not going to take the cookies from the cookie jar because last time I did that, I got spanked. Okay, the second stage. Some characteristics or orientations are individualism and exchange. To help you further understand this, this is more self-interest driven, like what's in it for me? What can I get out of this moral dilemma? If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So I'll do something, but what am I going to get from it? That's kind of where we're sitting with stage 2 here. Individualism and exchange. I'll do something for you in exchange for something else. Moving on to stage 3 of Kohlberg's theory of moral development. We now enter the conventional or the normal stage which most adults fit into. This is where everybody wants to be seen as a good boy or a good girl. This involves the golden rule, and as far as society's perspective. So it's what society expects, do unto others as you will have done to you, etc., etc. Everybody knows this. This stage is typical of adolescents and adults, like we said, and it involves right and wrong. Okay. Adherence to rules and conventions is somewhat rigid, however, a rule's appropriateness or fairness is seldomly questioned. Okay, so the basics of societal expectations are what we're talking about here. Stage 4, law and order. Authority and social order, obedience driven. This is when people think it's important to obey laws, dictums, and social conventions because of their importance in maintaining a functioning society. So it's one level up from 3. And when somebody does violate a law in stage 4, it's seen as morally wrong. Most active members of society, the average, most adults, will hold or remain at stage 4 for most, if not the majority of their life, where morality is still predominantly dictated by an outside force. Moving on to the post-conventional. This is obviously the most complex of the stages, stage 5 and 6. This is where we have very few people, or it's very rare to have people that consistently live in this moral setting of post-convention. Stage 5, social contract. Some defining characteristics of stage 5 are laws are regarded as social contracts rather than rigid edicts. This is achieved through majority decision and inevitable compromise. For example, a democratic government. A democratic government would be an example of social contract. While there are laws, the laws can be changed and amended. That's why we have amendments. And so that's kind of where the democracy, the high-functioning democracy fits, is with social contract, knowing that there are laws, but you can always change them. And we do that through a democratic majority voting process. Moving on to the last stage of Kohlberg's theory of moral development, stage 6. Again, this is where very few of us ever achieve. It's very rare for people to consistently live in this realm. It is defined by principled conscience. Some other defining characteristics of stage 6. Legal rights are unnecessary as social contracts are not essential for deontic moral action. I'll translate that for you. Decisions are not reached hypothetically in a conditional way, but rather categorically in an absolute way. If you need further clarification, this involves an individual imagining what they would do in somebody else's shoes. So this is empathy. This is being able to take perspective and use it to your advantage. Would be the opposite of egocentrism. Although Kohlberg insisted that stage 6 does exist, or he wouldn't have put it on here, he also found it difficult to identify individuals who consistently operated at that level. Now that we've established Kohlberg's theory of moral development, we're going to apply this to real life, and we're going to see if we can sink our teeth in a little bit more and understand this on a more applicable level. Kohlberg established the moral judgment interview in his original 1958 dissertation. It was a 45-minute tape where the interviewer uses moral dilemmas to determine which stage of moral reasoning a person uses. So they would give somebody a situation which is morally difficult, a dilemma, and they would see where they fell in the 6 stages that we just went over. The dilemmas are short fictional stories that describe situations in which a person has to make a moral decision. There's one very famous moral dilemma in this case, and it's called the Heinz dilemma. The Heinz dilemma was a dilemma that Kohlberg used in his original research that was also called the druggist's dilemma. Heinz steals the drug in Europe. And I'm about to show you that video, and we're going to have a little bit of an interaction here, and this will be fun so we can bring this full circle.
Heinz's dilemma. Heinz's wife is dying because of a special kind of cancer. There's only one drug that the doctors think might save her. It is a new formula which a pharmaceutical company in the same town has recently discovered. The drug is very expensive to produce, but the company is charging 10 times the production cost. Heinz goes to everyone he knows to borrow money, but he can only collect half of what the drug costs. He tells the CEO of the company that his wife is dying and asks him to sell it for less so if he could pay at a later time. But the CEO refuses. He can make no exceptions. The research had been very expensive and the company needs to turn in a profit. What should happen next?
All right, class, so here we have 3 options. Heinz should steal the drug and not go to prison as this is unfair. Or Heinz should steal the drug should not steal the drug since he would be breaking the law. Or Heinz should steal the drug and accept any prison sentence. As we talked about earlier, most of us live in stages 3 and 4, and the societal norm would say that we would pick this middle one here. So, let's click on it.
Heinz should not steal the drug since he would be breaking the law.
Okay, let's go make another choice. Heinz should steal the drug and not go to prison, as this is unfair.
Heinz should steal the drug but not go to prison, as that would be unfair.
Okay, now that we've seen the Heinz dilemma, we can now provide and plug in some hypothetical responses and see how they would fall on Kohlberg's theory of moral development. We'll start at the bottom, stage 1. These are kind of opposite. I apologize, stage 1 is down here, stage 1 is up here, so just kind of flip these while you follow me. This is stage 1 here. So a hypothetical response to the Heinz dilemma might be, it depends on who he knows on the police force. In this case, it's okay to do it if you don't get caught. That would be stage 1 in Kohlberg's theory. Stage 2, if his wife is nice and pretty, he should do it. Basically saying, if it feels good, do it. That aligns with stage 2 over here, individualism and exchange. Stage 3, a hypothetical response to the Heinz dilemma might be, he should do it because he loves his wife. That aligns with stage 3 over here. Be a good boy, be a good girl, loving your wife. Stage 4, a hypothetical response to the Heinz dilemma might be, saving a human life is more important than protecting property. And if you chose that, stage 4 would align with the law and order social orientation over here on Kohlberg's theory. Moving on, stage 5. A typical response might be, society has a right to ensure its own survival. I couldn't hold my head up in public if I let her die. That aligns with stage 5 over here, the social contract. There are rules, but sometimes we can bend them and break them if there's a higher ethical moral cost. And lastly, stage 6, I couldn't fit it up here, so I put it over here. Stage 6, a response to the Heinz dilemma might be, human life has supreme inherent value. I couldn't live with myself if I let her die. Kohlberg would have said that that would be an example of stage 6, post-conventional thought, which very few people have, and it's very rare. It's the principled conscience. So that's how these two charts kind of line up. And lastly, you're probably thinking, okay, now I know more about the theory of moral development. How does this relate to my situation in my classroom and my kids? Let me tell you. We can all use this. I plan on using this with my leadership group and basically giving them these moral dilemmas, like the Heinz dilemma, and asking them to create a response and then to see where it falls in the stage, in Kohlberg's stages of moral development. And so basically to plug in their answer like we did for the Heinz dilemma. And I'm really looking forward to that because it's going to be the best of my best kids. It's going to be the ones that should be doing the right things all the time anyways, with high morals and high ethics. So I really look forward to implementing the theory, Kohlberg's theory of moral development with my leadership kids this summer. And I would encourage you to do the same. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope that you got something out of Kohlberg's theory of moral development and that you can take back to your classes. And this concludes this lesson.